I'm having to kind of dummy this up with my with the current setup I have. It's not nearly my nice setup that I got at home, but hopefully you can sort of see. All right, cool. So yeah, with these Facebook Live things, I've been doing a lot of these Facebook Live things lately, and it's been really fun. It's been seeing we get people from all over the world on these, which is really cool. So if you guys have any questions or comments, I'm gonna back over. I think Mike's on there with me. You there, Mike?
I am here, sir.
Okay, perfect. So what other guests do we have? Who else do I know that's able to join us for this?
Well, Tone Rodriguez was our first panel at 1 o'clock, and then Borden Marcoux. Cool. So I think you may have met him at StocktonCon last year.
Yeah.
He was outstanding. They both did some fun stuff, and then.
Cool. What do they draw? I didn't get to see it.
Tone did a bunch of different Simpsons characters, but was focusing on Krusty the Clown.
Oh, yeah. One of my favorite things is the Simpsons ride at Universal in LA, and the whole setup of that is just awesome. And I knew some people that worked on that as well. So I mean, now that Disney's got Simpsons, it's it's so weird having Bart Simpson as part of the Disney family. But that's cool. I wish I got a chance to see it. So yeah, if you guys have any questions, just feel free to shoot them over. I feel like I need some Frozen music or something. So if you want to sing, Mike, go ahead. You want to sing Let It Go?
That will be a definite no.
You guys just, Mike's taking sponsorships so that he doesn't sing. We can get some donations, huh? How's the weather up there right now? By the way, I heard with everything going on that they closed the Basque restaurant. There was a Basque restaurant in town there, right? Wasn't there a really good Basque restaurant? Anyway, I know a lot of great restaurants have closed, but how's the weather right now?
It is not great. It's 100 right now. It's supposed to be 105 today, and Tuesday it's supposed to be 111. That's here in the Stockton, Lodi area.
111. Well, it's great for those grapes, though, right?
Not quite sure about that.
We'll have a good wine crop later this year, hopefully, with if there's at least a little bit of rain later. Yeah, this was so Jay Kim did a lot of the character design for Frozen, as well as Brittany Lee, and my daughter thinks that Brittany Lee is just the coolest artist in the world, way cooler than her dad. So my daughter Ashlyn, who's 12, has a ton of Frozen stuff on her walls, but none of it's mine. It's all Brittany Lee, and she's got a ton of Brittany Lee artwork. So even when you think that you're the cool dad because you're working on Frozen stuff, a pretty blonde wins out. Go figure. So tell me the dates again. You said Lodi was in November. That's the plan. I don't know if Mike can hear me or not. Can you hear me, Mike? Hope I didn't lose you. Mike, can you hear me? You still there?
I can, Jimmy. I'm just
Okay.
I don't want to black out the screen. We're trying to figure that out. So
Oh, okay. No worries, man. I just didn't know if you guys could hear me or not. So
oh yeah, we can hear you. Everybody's having a great time.
cool.
Ronnie actually asked, "What are your favorite drawing tools?" And also, do you draw primarily via pencil, paper, or digital?
I do some digital work, especially when I'm doing concept stuff. I've recently done some concept work that is digital, but no, most of my work is traditional. So especially lately, I've done a few. So I work with MB artists, and it's got Joe Rubenstein and some other amazing folks, and all that stuff is traditional. So I'm working with acrylic and gouache. So for concept stuff, I'll do it just because it's easier to fix and easier to make changes. But for my fine art stuff, I'm almost exclusively traditional. So, and as you can see here, it's just easier for me to start with doing these sketches traditionally, and then we go from there. So my background's theater, so I started out as a scenic artist for theater, set design and all that fun stuff. And then it went into fine art from there. So I started with Disney in '96 and started at the parks. In fact, I'm still friends with people. Every Friday night, I see some people that I used to work with at the parks many years ago, 20-something years ago. So they're still kicking. That's kind of fun. But I I still am very much a hands-on guy. I've got paint on most of my clothes, most of my shoes, almost always on my hands. Though not this week. I haven't been painting this week. So um, my favorite thing to work with, I think I really have been loving oil lately. I hadn't painted with oil since I was like 15 or something. And I just picked it up again. I had a big gallery show at my gallery. I have a gallery. It's a gallery partner in Vegas at the Venetian. It's an amazing gallery at the Venetian in Vegas, St. Mark's Square. And I started doing a ton of oil stuff for them. So we had an exhibition there, and I just fell in love with it. So I was able to kind of move into doing some more oil, and it got me hooked. So the last couple pieces I've done, I did a couple book covers for some classic literature stuff, and I'm currently working on a classic literature book cover for Frankenstein, and that's oil.
Hey, Jimmy, we had a question from Ricardo. I
Yeah.
also
Hey,
wanted
Ricardo.
to ask you to
Yep.
give the fans a little bit of an idea of exactly what you do. And it leads into the question because the person asked, did you work on Lion King?
I did not work on Lion King. No, I started, although the director of Lion King, Rob Minkoff, is a good personal friend of mine, which is kind of cool. But Lion King was before my time. So I started at Disney in '96. I started with the parks. So I did stuff with photo locations, and I worked on a parade called Light Magic, uh, which we called Light Tragic because it was a $21 million flop. But I worked on that. I worked on shows at the parks, scenic painting, and even some costume work. Although I did work on, speaking of Lion King, I did work on Lion King costume work for Animazement at the parks. So there's that tie-in. But no, I didn't work on Lion King. That was well before my time. I came in for doing some more kind of feature animation inspired stuff with Lilo and Stitch. But like recent stuff having to do with character brand, a lot of my stuff is in the Mickey meet and greet in Shanghai Disney, which is kind of cool. So you walk in there, my stuff's kind of floating all over the place. So I worked on that. I've got some pins that I'm working on right now, some design stuff. I've got some fine art design stuff that I'm working with. and there's some more Parks merchandise stuff that I'm working with. So that's a rough answer, but a lot of what I've done lately has been more on the fine art side of stuff. But I bounce back and forth between the fine art side and kind of Parks merchandise side.
And I think you sent me some. I know that you posted them, but you had sent me one painting that you did of Pirates of the Caribbean. And I thought that was for Inside the Ride. Is that correct?
No, so there was a piece that I did that of Johnny Depp, and actually Johnny owns that piece. That was a piece of fine art that I did. Nice. And Johnny Depp owns that particular piece of Captain Jack Sparrow. And then there were, they did some more with that. But that's the kind of stuff that I really love doing. In fact, I've recently been doing a little more celebrity portraiture stuff, and I know that there's a few people that have really kind of liked my version of Jack Sparrow, and is one of my favorite characters to paint. So that I happen to be fortuitous with that. Happening to love painting that character, and people like the way I paint him. So that's fun to do.
Well, that leads me into the next question: is like, who is your absolute favorite character to draw? Like who?
I actually love painting Elsa, because there are so many. There's so much personality that she's got, and I just think she's a beautifully designed character. But Ariel has a special place in my heart. Fun little story. When I was working on a ton of stuff for Disney, doing some fine artwork with Ariel, there's a painting that I did of Ariel under the ocean, and there's all these bubbles, and of course there's a million bubbles in this painting. Well, when my daughter was 3, she was having a really rough night and couldn't sleep, so Daddy's working on this piece in the kitchen because it was due, so I was working on it at home, and she comes in and crawls up on my lap, and I let her draw some of the bubbles that are in there. So if you look at one of my Ariel pieces, if you look carefully at the bubbles, you can see some very cute wobbly bubbles done by a 3-year-old Ashlyn, and they published it. It was in there, and it was not edited out, so there's some cute little bubbles in there that are wobbly bubbles that are done by a 3-year-old kid, and it was kind of all over the world, that particular piece, which is kind of fun. So I have to say Ariel is definitely my favorite to do. Out of all the mermaids in all the world. I think I'm gonna add a little bit of color in these guys. They need some color. And again, if you guys have any more questions, just shout them out. I'll be happy to answer those. I'm getting some water. I'm not leaving. I'm just getting some water. Because in order to do watercolor, you gotta have water. With my British Costa coffee cup. That's proof that I'm in the UK. So these are, people always ask what kind I use. These are koi. My favorite is Holbein, but koi seems to work really well for travel because it stays nice and dry, and it retains color. So. Are we going to auction this piece off, Mike? Do we want to auction this piece off?
We definitely could, Jimmy.
Yeah.
Let's get through today, and
yep.
What we'll do is next week, since we have not had a opportunity to be there in person to have our silent auction. We'll do a Facebook auction for this piece.
That sounds great.
This week.
Cool. Yeah, I'll look forward to it. I'll get you guys a really good photo in the light when it's in the morning when it's a little lighter here, because it is dark tonight.
That is so beautiful. And we will definitely be donating the proceeds to local charities in the Stockton area.
Very cool.
So what's your favorite Disney park?
Tokyo Disney Sea. I think that you know, it's funny. Everybody has their kind of favorite parks for their various favorite reasons. Disneyland is really special for me. It was the park that I knew as a kid and always went to, and even now it's a special park because it was, you know, it's the original. It's Walt's dream. Tokyo Disney Sea is just epic from a standpoint of just visuals and just being completely incredible and just epic. It's got to be Tokyo Disney Sea, and they've got some great attractions there.
Now you said Tokyo Disney Sea. Does that mean there's 3 of them?
No,
like,
so
like
no,
is there an A and a B or
SEA Tokyo Disney?
Oh, got you. Okay.
No, that's actually hilarious. That's the first time I've heard that. I like that. No, so we got Tokyo Disneyland, which is similar to Disneyland, but they put a lot more money into it. And then there's Tokyo Disney Sea. So there are 2 parks right next to each other. Tokyo Disney Sea's got the massive volcano, and it's very Jules Verne kind of journey to the center of the earth. And then Tokyo Disneyland has got there's some odd design choices in Tokyo Disneyland, but it seems to work somehow. But then my Disney World, my favorite parks at Disney World, I really enjoy Epcot. And just from a beauty standpoint, Disney's Animal Kingdom is incredible. I really like Magic Kingdom. Strictly from being the most gorgeous park, I'd say Disney Paris. Disney Paris has got the most beautiful castle, and it's such a great design. I love the Tomorrowland at Disney Paris. So they've got the Nautilus. That's the Nautilus that's floating in the bay there in Tomorrowland, and you can actually explore Captain Nemo's Nautilus, which is super cool. To go down in there and see it. And then their Space Mountain is beautiful because their Space Mountain actually it's an uphill launch and you go upside down, so it's somewhat similar to Rock and Roller Coaster, I think, with the onboard sound system and everything. So I've got my own favorite parks for varying reasons, but I'd have to say if I had to choose one, it would be Disneyland.
I've got a question from Ronnie Ledesma in our chat.
Hey, Ronnie.
What do you like to draw and paint when you're not working on Disney characters? Good question.
Oh, gosh. Well, I'm doing this book series, like I said, with MB Artists. And that's been really fun and really challenging for me. It's something a little different. So I've really loved doing that. I love painting Hawaiian stuff. So, you know, I've already got a pretty decent kind of community when it comes to tiki stuff. So I've got a bit of a following in the tiki community for some of my mermaids that I've created and things like that. I really love that. And then I love portrait work, man. I just finished for Steve Wozniak, the co-founder of Apple, for Woz's birthday. I just did a portrait of Woz, which was fun, and we presented it with Jay Leno and Dr. J, Julius Irving, and I think that's who. Shaq was on there, and Jewel, and it was just a whole gang of fantastic people that were on there that we celebrated Woz's birthday together as a Zoom chat. So I really love doing that kind of stuff and special things for friends. I mean, that was a fun thing to do, and that was not Disney. So, all right, let's see. Let's get some more color in here. The lighting is definitely preferred in the daytime, guys. So, apologies for this not great hotel lighting in Piccadilly Circus.
Kind of think it adds something nice to the.
Yeah, I mean it is. I've got two funky British lamps overhead here, but we got to make it work, right?
And so we're kind of winding down here, Jimmy.
Yeah.
I know that people will be definitely curious. You mentioned Ariel being, your favorite to draw, but what is your all-time favorite Disney property, like just to watch? Like,
I think Sleeping Beauty is one of the greatest films of all time. Period. I mean, animated or otherwise. And it's my favorite Disney film. But I think Pinocchio is right up there too. I love Pinocchio. So I would say between Sleeping Beauty and Pinocchio, both, they were Walt's, Sleeping Beauty he made when he had a little more money, though they definitely went over budget on that. I mean, it's crazy. Floyd Norman, one of Disney's he's one of Disney's original animators that Walt hired, that's still around, said that most characters you'd be happy to get about a second of animation, between a half a second and a second of animation done per day. But with Aurora, when they were drawing Aurora, they'd be lucky to get one frame approved a day, which is 1/24th of 1 second.
That's amazing.
Which is just, when you think about how difficult that character is to do. I mean, I've drawn Aurora plenty, and I still have a really rough time getting her right, because she's so beautiful and she's so elegant, and she has to be just right.
That's a great call. And I mean that, in Sleeping Beauty is, or I mean, sorry, some of the art from, well, even with Sleeping Beauty and some of these other older animated films, like, it just had to have been such a completely 100% different process, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, you're talking 24 frames of drawing per second. You've got you've got the main animator, so that would have been Mark Davis or somebody that was a head animator, and then you've got in-betweeners, and then you've got the cleanup guys. So you have multiple people working on a character, and they all had to be right, and they all had to be spot on. So you've got the hero poses, the main poses, and then you've got in-betweeners that are working on all the other stuff. And then again, that's just rough animation. And then you've got to have people that do cleanup on all that. That's 24 frames per second, which is a little different than the digital stuff that they do now. It's still a lot of work, of course, but the process is so much faster now because they have computer-aided design, and the way the animation programs work makes it a little easier these days.
Well, and the other thing that's always interesting to me, and I'm kind of glad in a way that they throw on all these extra endings to the Marvel movies and some other movies where you see all the volume of the amount of people that are working on these films.
Oh, it's mad. I mean, even back then, thinking about the people, I mean, those were hand inked cells. So you've got Sleeping Beauty with 24 frames per second, and each of those frames had to be hand drawn. Then they had to be cleaned up. Then they had to come in and be inked. So you've got hand inking with all that line work 24 times per second, in addition to all the drawings. It's just an enormous amount of work. And you also have to look back and realize that they were, they would often wash off the acetate film and reuse it for stuff. So there were some beautiful poses that were just kind of lost to the ages once they shot on that multiplane camera and they moved it. They kind of would toss it unless somebody was able to save them from destruction in the garbage bin. But most of that stuff has disappeared. So it's really neat to get a cell these days. An original animation cell is really special and really rare. There's not that many of them around still.
Well, Jimmy, we're just about out of time.
Cool.
That's been an amazing piece you've done here. Thank you so much
Oh,
for
of course,
donating
guys.
that to our local charities here in Stockton.
Yeah.
And we will put this up. Keep everybody in this chat that wants to get this.
On this here.
Yeah.
And I'll thank you guys this way. I'll say bye. So thank you guys so much for joining tonight. It was a lot of fun. And I'll say ta-ta from London.
Awesome. Thanks, Jimmy. Take care, bud.
All right, guys. Cheers. Bye.